Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And the new Maribel has arrived, and she's kind of just meh. I'm just gonna lay it out there. She's just kind of meh. We're at 120 pity. I took to pull her, just over half. Not terrible. Not as good as the first banner, but certainly not 200 pity. But what does Maribel do? We saw that her first skill, based on the skill preview, was the EX ult damage and the weakness strike based on barriers removed. So we're like, okay, well, is she going to give herself barriers? Or is she banking on other characters' barriers to yoink those? She does give herself her own barrier. So if we look at it, she's on Festive Memories, Schemer, and Stern of Spirit. Her ult is an AoE water attack 150% because it's a support ult, and it gives extra weakness strike to Festive Memories. And then her actual skills. First skill is the EX ult damage, and then she can remove all barrier stacks from the front line only. Need to make that clear. When she removes the barriers, it's only from the front line units. So if the backline units have barriers, doesn't matter. They're not going to get them removed. But every time you remove a barrier stack, you get 10% extra weakness strike. And it starts at 50. So in order to cap this out at 150% weakness strike, you need to remove 10 barriers total from all three characters combined. So if one character has 3, one has 4, one has 3, that is going to get you the max of 150. But if it's lower than that, if you only have like one barrier each, then that's only 30%, and you're only going to be at 80% weakness strike instead. So having more barriers does make this skill stronger or weaker. Her second skill, it says right here, changes one non-blue orb, but when you upgrade it to level 10, it's actually 2 orbs. So if we go to her actual kit right here, changes 2 non-blue orbs to blues. So she's a unrestricted alt swapper for blue orbs. Could be 2 oranges, could be 2 greens, could be 1 and 1, but as long as they're not blues, 2 orbs will become blue. And she also applies 1 stack to any Festive Memories character up front when you use this skill. Only Festive Memories characters. So, if you try and use her in a support slot for a different team, and she's the only Festive Memories character, she will be the only one to get a barrier. And I think this is her biggest fuck up. Because she gives herself barriers, means that we have a way to actually cap out her weakness strike buff. But it's only to Festive Memories, which never gets buffed. It gets buffed one time a year. Now. And then it will never get buffed again until December of 2025. So, unless you're building a full team of Festive Memories, this skill doesn't mean shit. Because, if you put her on another team for this orb change and this EX ult damage and this weakness strike, she can work as a generic ult support. But unless you're using the skill over and over and over and over again, and you're giving Maribel herself 10 barriers at once, and then use the buff, you're never going to see more than probably 70% weakness strike, which is still a significant amount, but it could be so much higher. So I think what they could have easily done is they just made this applies barrier stack to any character. All allies. Straight up. Just remove the Festive Memories part, and then I think she would actually be fairly good. Because we'd get EX ult damage. We get weakness strike, which is not restricted. None of these two things are restricted to Festive Memories or Schemer or whatever. It's just, if you have an EX ult, you do 120%. If you're a weak point, then you get extra weakness strike. And then if you gave people barriers and you're a generic orb changer, you had the potential to be really, really good. And she can still be, okay as a support character. It's just that this being locked to only Festive Memories does hurt her generic viability for getting extra weakness strike for the rest of the team. Otherwise, she's not the worst character I've ever seen, but when you put her in terms of the team, she becomes much more confusing. She's this is a defense team, so you get extra damage between turns 6, 7, and 8. Her Valor trait seals defense skills, not super important. Her actual trait, if you pull dupes of her, please don't, is if you send 6 blues, you lower the enemy's attack. Good for a defense team, not good for really anything else. So her trait is not super duper useful at all. But if you look at the actual team that they want you to run right now, so we've got Albus, Ritas, Momiji, Maribel, and then we've got Fire Shizu and Fire Belzard, all Festive Memories characters. Albus only has a 150 point cap. It doesn't go higher than that. And then you look at the skills, and we have a 90 point skill from Momiji and a 90 point skill from Maribel. 90 and 90, and I know I'm bad at math, but I can at least do this, is 180 points. Albus does not have 180 points. She has 150. So I don't know if you guys see the problem with this, but I see a problem is that right now, you cannot use both these skills at once to nuke. And you also can't hold these buffs, because this is Pierce, which you can hold. Alt resistance down, you cannot hold. Like, you can't. It's a debuff on the enemy. They don't care who you swap in and out. It's going to go away after one turn. And Maribel, her EX alt damage is an orb buff, which means it doesn't matter who's up front or who's in the back. It's going to run out after one turn. So you can't use one of these skills early and send someone to the back and still have the maximum effect. You have some of the effect, but not all of it. So you can't use both these skills at once right now. What this means is that when we get that Violet unit to replace what I assume is Velzard right here, so let's just put you there. When we get the Fire Violet next week, whenever that is, she's going to have a skill that is like Determination to Prosper Rimuru, where after a certain amount of time, a certain amount of turns happen, you're going to give yourself extra skill points, and it's going to go over your skill cap. So increases his own magic attack, and the Awaken skill increases skill points by 150 after 8 turns, can exceed cost limit. This means that when you use a 90-point skill, you get 150 points back, which will then allow you, if you're capped at 150 already, it will then allow you to use the other two big-time expensive skills from Maribel and Momiji. But right now, you can't use both their skills combined on this team, which makes no sense until we get that final Violet character. And if she doesn't have that skill, then God help this team. She's got to have it. So we've already kind of locked into one of those. Otherwise, this team is absolute garbage, and there's no saving it. Momiji, as a generic support character, I think is okay. Right? Her skill is generic, pierce rate, alt resistance down. Good things. Her orb change, unrestricted, oranges to blues. Okay, that's fine. Maribel, EX alt damage, weakness strike, the barrier only for Festive Memories, but another unrestricted special orb convert to blues. Like, these are good skills on other teams. Like, they're going to be useful on other teams, but right now, if you're trying to pull and build the Festive Memories team, they really don't work together. Like, they really don't. So, looking at Maribel's banner, it actually, it's got some options in it. It's got it's got Idol Shuna, Commander Hinata, Earth Jean, who is the weakest character in this batch, New Year's Shinsha, who's a good character still for burst physical, and then Second Anniversary Hinata, who can be generic because she's giving the element buff to all 7 elements, or all 5 elements. 7 elements. And then the Future Hand of Oranges. Like, she's still got some viability. She's power crept because she's old, but she still can be good and useful. And then you've got Velzard and Shizu and the other characters here. But overall, like, it's a single featured unit banner. Maribel doesn't work on this team very well yet, or at all yet. Do I recommend pulling her for future value? Not really, no. People are coming off the 3rd anniversary, not having a lot of crystals. This is a very easy skip meta. None of these characters really, bend the needle towards, oh my god, overpowered. They're luxury units. Do they do good things? Yes. Are they absolutely necessary to clear 99% of the content in the game right now? No. You don't need them to clear Conquest. You don't need them to clear Tempered Edge. You don't need them to clear Crucible. You don't need them to clear Defense Battle, or the Fruit Harvest quest, or anything else. Bulwark Battle, no, you don't need them. You don't need them to clear Story Quest. Therefore, if they're not really necessary for 90% of the game, they're not really worth summoning for. They're not going to make as like a super huge impact. So I beg of you, please do not summon for this meta. If you're still missing, I see a lot of people actually who are still missing Diablo off of the 3rd anniversary banner. He is much more important. He is an actual literal best unit in the game. Top tier, like SSS tier, triple S tier is where I put him. And if you do not have Diablo, I think you need to get him. You need to make an attempt to get him before he leaves in the next 7 days. Other than that, don't summon for Blanc, don't summon for Hero, don't summon for Albus, don't summon Romiji, don't summon for Maribel. Just save your crystals. But if you, for some reason, like Maribel, and you did summon for her, let me know in the comments how your summons went as she drops gold bars on everybody. That's very festive, right? Yeah, let me know how bad you got shafted, or if you didn't get shafted. Either way. But that's it from me, guys. Please don't summon. Take it easy. Please don't summon. And I'll see you later. Please don't summon.